everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome. I'm so excited to see everybody here. We're going to have a great conversation tonight. So welcome. If you are new here, I am Gina with Advantage College Planning, and I like to jump on Facebook Live every couple of weeks with helpful information to demystify and de-stress the college application process for you and your students. And this week I am really excited because I have a special guest. So we are going to be talking about all things SAT and ACT prep. And I'm really excited to welcome Jenny Cochran from Advantage College Planning from Arborbridge. So Jenny has been working in the college admissions realm since 2016. And so now she is the Director of Partnerships with Arborbridge, and they are a test prep company that works with students. They're extremely data informed. They are phenomenal. And so I'm so excited to have Jenny here tonight to talk about all things related to SAT, ACT, answer your questions, help you feel really confident with you and your student as you're getting ready to go into this testing cycle, and to identify which test is the best fit for them and really feel like you're setting them up for success. So welcome, Jenny.
Oh, thank you so much, Gina. I love being here. I have some fantastic information to share. So whether you're new to the SAT or ACT, or you're like deep in prep mode, everything we're going to go through today is going to be super helpful.
Awesome. Great. So if you are new, it is really helpful to put your information in the chat. And if you've been here before, you know the drill. So you can use the chat feature to put in any questions that you have for me or for Jenny throughout tonight's session. And we will have a chance for Q&A at the end. But it's also really helpful for you to put in, that you can hear me, that the video is working. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what year your student is. That's always really helpful too, because we will be talking about test prep tonight, which usually is most applicable to sophomores and juniors, but there's information for younger students as well, who will be coming up on this test prep cycle. So it's just helpful to know where you all are coming from and where you are in the cycle so we can best support you. So go ahead and use that chat, give us thumbs up, let us know everything is looking good. We are here for you and we love to hear from you. Awesome. All right. So while everyone's getting a chance to do that, Jenny, I was thinking we could just jump right in and talk about SAT and ACT. It would probably be most helpful to give a bit of an overview, because some families, don't know that much about the different tests or kind of what they are. So when we're thinking about SAT and ACT, they are two tests that students take as they are getting ready for the college application process. They're standardized tests. I like to tell students that they are kind of like Coke and Pepsi is the analogy that I use. So they are competitors. The SAT and the ACT are not from the same company. They are competitors. They both have a standardized test that students can take for college admissions, but their products are slightly different. And like Coke or Pepsi, students tend to have a preference of one over the other, right? Because there's slight differences in the tests. So Jenny, could you give us just a really high level view before we get into the details about what kind of the main differences would be between the SAT and the ACT?
Yes, and it's such a great analogy that you made and the way you described it. Know that college admissions professionals, the people that are looking at the applications, they're going to use these scores to understand you better. So please understand that as you're testing and you're taking the classes and you're thinking about prepping, it's just another piece of the puzzle that they need to see to look at the full package of who you are, right? So the SAT, the old news of the SAT is that it went digital. It went from 3 hours to 2 hours. It's an adaptive test, which is kind of the new part of the digital piece of it, where the way that you perform in the first part of the test will determine the difficulty on the next part of the test, which will affect your score. So it's actually very popular with test takers. So it might sound overwhelming, but it's actually really popular and students are enjoying it. The pros of it is it's shorter. The reading passages are shorter. There's this really cool math calculator put into it called Desmos. And I'll tell you, if you don't know how to use Desmos, learn it. Like, it's probably a 30-minute tutoring session with somebody that knows how to use it, but it alone can increase your math score and really make the math section a lot easier for you. And the other thing that's really cool is scores are coming back in just days. So that's really, that's a real big fun thing instead of waiting a couple weeks. When we talk about the ACT, the traditional 3-hour paper test is still available. It's only going to be available until September of 2025. What they've come out with now, just in April, they had kind of a soft pilot of it, but they do have a digital version that's available right now. And like I said, after September 2025, that will be the only version that's available. It's shorter. It's 2 hours in length. Obviously, it's digital instead of paper. They will offer it in paper if you want. It's just the shorter version. Unlike the SAT, it's not adaptive. So it's linear. So everybody that's taking the ACT on the day, together in the room gets the same questions in the same order. And that's going to stay that way. Another major update is that science is now optional. So your composite score for the ACT in the past and on the one that's still available till September, your score is based on your math score, your English score, and your science score. And all three of those come together to equal what they call composite score. That's going to change. On this new one, it's just going to be math and science. Math and English. Science is optional. So it's going to look like the writing section if you wanted to add the writing section in the past. Another huge change is that science is actually a real scientific test. So the prior test was a lot of graphs and charts and heavy on the reading. But now it's very STEM-based. So there's physics questions, there's engineering questions, there's design questions. So the prep for that science is going to be very different from the past.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a big change. So when we're thinking about, so even if you have, if parents are listening and you had a student a couple of years ago take these tests, things have changed a little bit. So the old SAT used to be a paper test. Everyone got the same linear test. Now it's adaptive. So we've got some strategy there. And these are some big changes with the ACT because yes, the science section, usually my students come out of that ACT saying they weren't asking me science at all. They just were asking me to read graphs and it was like another reading section. So now you're saying this new science, which will now become optional, will actually be testing them. How much science content do you actually know?
Yes, absolutely. So our original test takers have said that the difficulty was quite high.
Okay.
And I believe that to be so because we had never seen it. There's no practice test available as of today. So it was a complete surprise to the students that went in to take this. The more data that we can collect on it, I think on May 6th, we're supposed to get a practice test from the ACT. So the more data that we can start to collect, the more we can start to prep your students and everybody on here on what to expect. So we do know that it is a true science test right now.
Got it. So thinking about, how families and students should be approaching this, would you recommend, what is the kind of from your experience, your general recommendation? 2 questions about the ACT. One is, you've said that there is an option to take the paper test right now and an option to take the computer test. It'll switch to all computer test down the road, but right now there's an option. Do you have a recommendation for if you should be choosing one over the other?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that question. And yes, and I do, but it's from my entire team at Arborbridge. We recommend taking the paper test as long as it's available. And this is because we know how to prep students for this test. There's also free materials all over the internet, all teaching kids how to prep for this test. Students and counselors at your high school, everybody's used to this format. So you can prepare for this test adequately. This new test just has so many things that we don't know that's on it, that we just feel that there's nobody out there that knows how to really prepare young adults for this test. The other thing is, on the first exam that they held in April, there were a lot of tech issues. I should have mentioned that on the SAT, you get to bring your own device, your own tablet. or laptop. On the ACT, you have to utilize whatever is at the test center. So you're using a device that's not your own. That's usually not a problem, but there weren't enough devices at some of the test centers, and then there were some technical issues. So we really highly recommend if ACT is your test and you feel that's where your strengths are, take the original paper as long as you can, which is till September of 2025. And then as test prep companies such as Arborbridge and other companies start releasing practice tests and tips and tools, then you can start to prepare for this new version.
That's great advice. Okay, awesome. My second question related to ACT is related to the science. So if the science is now becoming optional, should we still be encouraging all students to take the science section, or should we say it's optional, don't take it? I know a lot of students who would love to hear that. So
yes,
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, because here we are, we're so excited that it's a 2-hour test now, right?
Right. It shortens significantly.
Yes. But then we're saying, take the science. So our original recommendation was, Gina, was take the science because we don't know what colleges want yet. And when we've asked college admissions professionals, what do you want? They're like, we don't know yet. We don't know what this test looks like yet. So our original recommendation was just take it, add it on. However, now colleges are starting to come out with their admissions policies around this. So, for example, one college last week said, we don't ever want to see this new science. We're not even going to look at it if you send it. Whereas another college had said, we require it. So it's really going to be based on which colleges you and your counselor put on your list, and you just stay on that admissions website and check those policies.
Okay, great. And that's definitely something we're doing constantly. So it sounds like if you have your list set and if the colleges on your list have come out with their policy, you're good to go. You can decide. But if there's anything up in the air, you're better off, it sounds like, taking it to make sure you're covered if you don't know what the school's policy will be.
I think so.
Okay.
I do. I think so. And what's really cool about that too is that you have that score in your back pocket. You don't have to report it.
Okay.
So you get to choose whether or not you send that score to the college. So maybe it's worth just trying and having that there. There's a couple questions I just want to get to real quick, Gina. One is Patrick was asking from Falmouth, Maine. Should my son wait until after taking pre-calc to take the SAT, or will he be okay with algebra 1 and 2 and geometry? Good question. So the majority of that test math on SAT is algebra 1 and 2 and geometry. So you have 90% of the content there. I don't think they need to wait. They can take pre-calc. There might be a couple questions on there, but once we start talking later about strategy, really with a tutor or with some test prep, even without pre-calc, your student will be able to prepare to answer that question. So I don't think it's worth waiting. And then also one other person asked that now that the science section is optional in the ACT and the actual science is essentially just ELA and math, what are the differences between the content of SAT and ACT?
And I thought that was a very nice segue into our second fun fact that we're going to talk about, which is what's the difference between these two and how can students set themselves up to play to their strengths?
Yes. So that was a cool segue, wasn't it?
That worked out great.
Okay. This is the $10 million question. This is what everybody wants to know.
Right.
It is up to the individual. Whichever test plays to your strengths. So just a quick little hint is that if you are fast and you are really good being under pressure, under time pressure, the ACT might suit you. It's a sprint. It has tighter time limits, but the questions are more straightforward rather than trying to trick you. If you are a stronger reader and you prefer to work through problems more methodically, the digital SAT might be a better format for you. The adaptive format we're hearing from students is less overwhelming, especially for students who like to think through problems step by step. They get a little bit longer. We recommend, so here's the way to know. we recommend taking a diagnostic test. And we offer them at our test prep company at Arborbridge. There's a lot of different practice tests out there on the internet. Take a full-timed practice test.
Okay.
See how you felt during the test. See how you felt when you hit a question that you didn't know the answer. Like, were you able to get past it? Were you able to go back to it? Like, collect all that data about how you felt, and then look at the data of the score. So to me, that's how you determine which test is for you.
Awesome. So Arborbridge offers diagnostic assessments, so they could contact you for that, or they could just go online and go on the College Board website for SAT, go on the ACT or the ACT.org website for ACT, take a practice full-length test, like in an actual pretend you're taking it on a weekend, sit down, lock in, and then compare and see not only what was your score, but I like how you said how you felt, because I think that's really, an important piece of, like, did you feel like, were you running out of time? Did you feel like, this was something where you were able to really show what you knew? I think that's also really important.
And I will tell you, it's a very small percentage of students that don't prefer one over the other. So the key takeaway here is take the test. And as you mentioned, and I was going to talk about this in strategy later, take it as you would on test day. So usually tests are around 8 in the morning. Take the test at 8 in the morning. No music, no interruptions. Have your devices all charged and available to really collect accurate data. And I did want to mention too, our diagnostic tests are free. So please, there's just so much free practice tests on the internet. So please don't hesitate to find that resource for you. All of us want to see students do really well on these tests. So there's just a lot of free tools out there.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, and I love how you were saying, like, create the actual environment. So you're going to be taking this test very likely starting at 8 a.m. on a Saturday, which is very different than maybe what your normal rhythm is. I have a lot of students who are night owls and they feel most awake at 9 o'clock at night, but that's not when you're taking this test. And I feel like that plays really well into what our third area was that we really wanted to highlight tonight, which is this type of test, an SAT or an ACT, this lengthy standardized test, is not like other tests that students have taken before. It's not even like an AP exam, which I think was what students might think is the closest, right? It's like, this is a long, high stakes test. It's kind of similar. But the way that you would prepare needs to be a little bit different, and building that endurance, getting yourself into the mindset is really important. What do you talk to students about in regards to this, and how do you help prepare students from this perspective?
This is probably my favorite thing to talk about, because I think it is the thing that students neglect the most, but it is the way to gain the greatest edge. So it's less, and I really, really mean this, it's less about knowing the content going into this test, because you've already learned all the content in school. It's more about understanding the test experience and preparing for that, right? So for example, if you are practicing your test at 8 a.m. because you know you're going to take that test at 8 a.m., your brain knows that at 8 a.m. it's go time. Right? So we don't want to be practicing it at 4 o'clock because your brain thinks that's go time. But when you get into that actual test, your brain remembers that it's go time, and you need to sustain 2 to 3 hours of focus. So it can't be understated that is a really important mental preparation. And like you said, we're not studying for this like we would an AP exam, a history exam, a math exam. This is more strategic. And so there's a physical component, a mental component, and strategy. So mental is already, we talked about that, about taking it at the right time. Have your exact devices that you're going to use that day on your practice, your same pencils, your same calculator, have your same laptop that you're going to use it on if you're taking the SAT. In other words, like, eliminate all surprises.
Right. That's what I'm hearing. It's like we're reducing it sounds really silly, but it adds up. We're reducing any little extra mental work that you have to do. If it's like, oh, I forgot how do I get into this on this computer? Or, oh, I'm using my brother's calculator and now I have to
Uh-huh.
use this other calculator. That's all those little bits are like friction that are being created that use energy that's taking away from what you can actually focus on for this test.
Yes. I mean, it really does build that muscle memory in your brain that you've done this before and you can do it again.
Mm-hmm. I love
Um,
it.
so yeah, it's just part of more. It's part of more of it's more of what we collect data on in our company. Like this is a big part of this test. Another part of it is what you eat. Your brain is fueled by the food that you eat. So even in practice tests, we want you to eat the foods that you would eat on that day. And
Okay.
so we just recommend slow processing, slow digesting proteins like eggs, nut butters. Those are just going to keep you very full. We pair those with like smart carbohydrates because carbohydrates give you energy. And this is kind of a marathon. So something like whole wheat toast or fruit, it just kind of gives you a nice steady energy. Recommend being hydrated, but not overly hydrated, right? Because you don't want to have to leave the test center to go to the restroom. So green tea and water is fabulous. Caffeine's good for mental stimulation, but be careful trying an energy drink or some kind of drink that you've never had before on
Oh,
test
right.
day. Yeah, so that consistency is actually a big part of it.
Yeah.
Avoid heavy sugars because we know that if you eat a heavy sugar, you're going to feel a high and then you're going to crash about an hour into the test. So, so eat well.
Awesome.
Another thing that I think is really exciting to do is to train your brain. And we talked about this, like take a full test. This is about, the test is less, like I said, about content at times and more about like it's testing how long can you stay calm? How long can you stay focused? And can you sustain this kind of rigor for 2 to 3 hours? I mean, a lot of what this score is measuring because they already have your GPA. They
Right.
already see what you can do. So this test is more about test endurance. And then something else that's super important is what happens when something goes wrong,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
What happens when the person next to you is tapping their pen and it's driving you crazy? Or what happens when you get a question, you've never seen this question before, you've never seen this content, and you freeze or you panic or you just lose focus.
Mm-hmm.
So practicing how to get back into focus is super important. And so how do you do that? Like we take this from athletes and we take this from high level professionals. You just step back for a moment and you visualize yourself. You can visualize yourself finishing that section. You can take a stretch. You can stretch your fingers. You can kind of roll your shoulders, take a deep breath and tell yourself like, I'm going back into this. Another thing to do is to leave it. Like, that's not a question I can answer right now. I'm going to flag it. If I have time to get back to it, I will. If I don't, that wasn't worth my time and energy, that one question. It caused me to pause. It caused me to lose focus. I'm going to get back into this section and really start to feel good about my progress again.
I like that way of thinking. This question just is not worth my time and effort. Feels so much better than telling myself, oh, like, you're so stupid. You don't know how to do this. Right. Or like, well, now okay, here's another one you don't know how to do, and then you kind of start to stress and spiral versus this
Mm-hmm.
one isn't worth my time and effort
Yeah.
because there's a lot of other questions that I can get to. So it's even just
Mm-hmm.
those reframes are really powerful.
Yeah, and at that point, if you have time to go back to it, at that point you can start. Maybe you still don't know the what they're asking you, but at that point, with time and with all of the prep that you've done, you can start to eliminate things. And
Right.
you've got the time. You've finished everything else, so you're calmer. You have the time to start eliminating it and narrowing it down to what you think might be closer to the answer.
Right.
So that is. I think that can help everybody. One other thing I like to do is deliberate pacing. So something that you see a lot of people do, like when they're in a running race, is they sprint the first mile and then they can't finish the last 2-3 miles.
Right.
So taking this test is kind of the same thing. Some people get into it and they just rush through that first section. That actually used up a lot of your energy.
Right.
So when you notice yourself going fast, you notice yourself sprinting, just put your pencil down or put your fingers away from the keyboard for a minute and just take a slow breath and tell yourself, like, I have the time to finish this test. I've taken this test before 2-3 times before today. Each section, I love this strategy. After every section, I celebrate the win.
Okay.
Like, oh,
mark that milestone.
Section's done. Yeah, that section's done. And
Love
then you are ready to go into the next section. Yeah.
It's so great. So there's so much great information in here. I'm like bringing it all in for conversations with my students coming up next week, because we're all talking about this right now. Like, this is the big topic with juniors. So, I mean, the bottom line is, first of all, I think this is why, Arborbridge was named the best online tutoring company in America by Business Insider. Like, all the data, I just love it, right? It's even like we tracked what our students ate and how that impacted them, right? It's like all these little details. But I think those are the kinds of things that are really important that students overlook. And then they end up, leaving some points on the table potentially, or making it more stressful than they need to. So the bottom line is, there are 2 different tests, SAT and ACT. They are not the same. And your student is very likely to just be naturally inclined to perform better on one versus the other. And colleges do not have a preference of one test over the other.
Yes.
By going into this testing season with a little bit of strategy and a little bit of planning, you and your student will be able to, just like we always are trying to do, reduce the stress a little bit, go in with intention, and that's going to help you reduce your stress. Awesome. So I'm going to open this up for a couple of Q&As. I know we got one message in. The question was, if you could just repeat, what's the estimation of when we think there might be some new ACT practice exams either given directly to test prep companies or maybe starting to show up online?
Yes. I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it with an asterisk, because we were supposed to have a practice test in December and we didn't get it. We're supposed to have one in February. We didn't get it. However, I feel really good about the May 6th date, because there is a new Red Book. So Red Book was like the actual physical book that you could buy from any book retailer, and you could do the practice with the book for the ACT. We've seen that we can order the Red Book on May 6th. So that tells me that ACT Online also will probably be releasing one. I don't know if there's going to be more than one, but one practice test. So at Arborbridge, we made a promise to ourselves and to everybody that works with us that the day that practice test goes up, less than 24 hours later, we will have practice tests available, because we have been just waiting. And like I said, we had test takers take the digital, students go take the digital and report back to us. So we have a lot of data already, but we're waiting on that actual practice test with the scoring scales, because we want to give you the absolute best test and diagnostic that we can. We didn't want to come up with one guessing.
Right.
So I'm going to just say after May 6th.
Awesome. And then we also had another question. How much weight do colleges actually put on standardized test scores now? Is one preferred over the other? So one is not preferred over the other. It's just whichever one you want to submit is fine. And how much weight colleges are putting on the standardized test really varies by college. It's that classic college admissions answer of it depends. There are some colleges that have gone back to requiring test scores as part of their admissions process. They are no longer test optional. There are some schools that never went test optional. So, that will vary by school. From our experience, the schools that are saying that they are test optional, the majority of them are truly optional. They're saying to us, if we don't have a score, we're not wondering why. Right. But you also have to look, there are some colleges that are saying we are test preferred, we are test encouraged, we are test optional with an asterisk. And those are the ones where you have to look a little bit more at the fine print. If you're working with us, we'll help guide you on that. But there are some schools that if you have a score, they want you to submit it. And you can also look to see online, what percentage of students have submitted scores. So you can see, oh, well, this school, 92% of the students submitted some version of a score across the two tests, or at this school, maybe it's only 40%, right? So that can also help guide you a little bit. And the last question is, how do I take supplementary sections of the SAT/ACT writing science? Is it done during the test if I choose or at a later date?
I'm really glad you asked this question. It is done prior to taking the test. So when you sign up for either the SAT or the ACT, you will be given options of what you want to take. So for example, with this new SAT, you will be asked, do you want to take the optional science section? And you would click on that. Do you want to take the optional writing session? And you click on that. So it's always done before the test. What I really want you to pay attention to is what you're taking. So there will be options. So make sure that you are taking the exact test that you want, whether that be paper or digital in terms of ACT, and which sections are optional that you want to take. Base that on whatever you and your college counselor are talking about, your timeline, what your graduation year is, all of those things. But it is something to really take the time to make sure that you're ordering the correct test.
Yep. Yeah. So you'd order the test. So when you're signing up for the ACT, that's when you're picking what sections you'll take.
Yes.
Okay. And the truly last question is, how can you see? It was a follow-up. So Angela's asking how we can see the information on test submissions. I think what she means is, where can I look to find out what percentage of students are submitting test scores? So 2 places. One would be, you could go to the college website. If you go to their admissions page, there are some colleges that are very transparent about their data, and some of them will post that on their websites. The other place that you can go is the Common Data Set. So for example, if you Google Common Data Set and you put the name of a college or university, Common Data Set, Syracuse University, right? You will be able to see the data that their admissions office has collected and then submitted for public consumption, essentially. So you can see how many students applied, how many were admitted, what was the average SAT or ACT score, the average GPA. And so that is another place where you can go and see. That data is usually 1 to 2 admission cycles behind, just because of the way data gets reported, depending on what time of year you're looking at that. But it can give you a little bit of an idea. And then actually a third way would be, if you go and visit the college, that might be something that they talk about in their information session when they give a tour. That's also a question that you could ask your admissions counselor when you go to visit that college campus, or when that college rep comes to your student's high school for a high school visit. If that's something that's really important for your student to know, that's a question that they could ask as well. Awesome. So this was great. I'll be back on Mother's Day. I know, today is such a full month. I guess I'm going to do this on Mother's Day. So all the moms, come on and join me. We'll support each other. But we'll be talking about letters of recommendation and how your students can set themselves up for strong letters of recommendation. But I will put here in the chat just the link if you want to learn more about Arborbridge. So I'm really appreciative of Jenny joining me tonight and sharing all of this wonderful information with all of us. And so if you have any questions or want to talk to them about test prep options or any of the other services they provide, you can find them at arborbridge.com.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. Thank you for everyone for coming.
Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks. Bye.